It was meant to be a triumphant return to American morning television. Meghan Markle, radiant and composed, stepping into the brightly lit Good Morning America studio to promote her latest project, a holistic wellness brand that had already stirred buzz across social media. Dressed in a sleek cream pantsuit and understated gold jewelry, Meghan was every bit the image of a woman reclaiming her narrative. ABC had heavily marketed her appearance, calling it a special conversation between her and longtime host Michael Strahan. What no one expected was that the interview would implode on live television. The segment started off smooth. Meghan spoke passionately about her new endeavors, clean living, female entrepreneurship, and the empowerment of marginalized voices. Strahan, ever the gentleman, guided the conversation with practiced charm. For nearly 10 minutes, the tone was light and celebratory. Viewers were treated to pre-recorded clips of Meghan walking through a sun-drenched garden, laughing with artisans, sipping herbal teas, all curated to support her new brand's image of grounded elegance. But then the mood began to shift. Strahan, clearly following producer prompts, leaned in and said, "Meghan, you've been very vocal about reclaiming your voice and telling your truth. But many Americans feel they've heard your story over and over again, on Oprah, in the Netflix docuseries, in Prince Harry's memoir. Some critics say it's starting to feel performative. What would you say to that?" The room seemed to hold its breath. Meghan blinked slowly, her smile tightening just a fraction. "Well, Michael," she began evenly, "there's a stark difference between overexposure and overexamination. When people experience trauma, especially on a global stage, healing isn't linear, and certainly not dictated by public fatigue." Strahan, unbothered, nodded respectfully but didn't stop there. "But surely you're aware of the public sentiment, that people are growing tired of the Sussex brand, constantly centering around victimhood. Don't you think it might be time to pivot?" That question, "Don't you think it might be time to pivot?" was the spark that ignited the fire. Meghan's expression darkened. She sat forward, no longer performing calmness. "I didn't come here to be chastised for choosing to speak out. Do you know how many women are silenced every day because they're told their truth is too much? I refuse to apologize for surviving." The silence that followed was deafening. Robin Roberts and the other co-hosts exchanged uncomfortable glances. The production crew fidgeted behind the cameras, eyes darting to teleprompters, waiting for a cue to cut. But the camera stayed on Meghan, her eyes fierce, her hands clenched on her lap. Strahan tried to soften the blow. "I respect your story, Meghan. But we also have to acknowledge that public figures face scrutiny. People are asking if these public disclosures are about healing or controlling the narrative." That was the final straw. "You don't get to frame my healing as a PR campaign," Meghan said sharply, her voice rising just enough to make the live audience shift in their seats. "This was supposed to be a discussion about my work, not a cross-examination of my trauma." With that, she unhooked her microphone, stood up, and shot a piercing look at the cameras. "If this is what American media has become, then perhaps it's time we stop calling it journalism." As she walked off set, the control room erupted. Producers yelled into headsets, trying to figure out whether to cut to commercial or salvage the segment. Robin Roberts quickly stepped in to go to break, but the damage was already done. The Duchess had left the building, literally and figuratively, and GMA would never be quite the same again. The fallout from Meghan Markle's explosive walk-off on Good Morning America rippled across the media landscape with breathtaking speed. Within minutes of the segment ending, the clip of her removing her mic and storming off the set went viral. News outlets pounced, social media ignited, and within the hour, hashtags like #Meghan v Strahan, #GMA Clash, and #Markle Meltdown were trending worldwide. Inside the GMA studio, the mood was stunned disbelief. Michael Strahan sat motionless for a few seconds after Meghan's exit, clearly processing the moment. A seasoned broadcaster and former NFL player, Strahan had weathered tense interviews before, but nothing quite like this. With millions watching live, he cleared his throat and looked into the camera. "Well, that was unexpected," he said, trying to diffuse the tension with a slight smile. "We're going to take a short break." Behind the scenes, chaos reigned. Producers scrambled to regroup. Executives from ABC were on the line within minutes, demanding a full report on what went wrong. Staff whispered frantically as they tried to determine whether Meghan would return to finish the interview off camera. She wouldn't. She had already left the premises, her security team ushering her swiftly into a waiting black SUV as paparazzi swarmed the building's front entrance. Reports later confirmed that Meghan was furious. A member of her team allegedly told a producer, she felt baited. This was supposed to be a platform for positivity and progress, not a platform for more judgment. The Duchess had specifically approved a list of safe topics, and while GMA producers claimed they stayed within agreed boundaries, the tone of Strahan's questioning was, according to Meghan, an ambush in designer clothing. Meanwhile, reactions to the incident divided sharply along familiar lines. Supporters of Meghan applauded her for standing up against what they saw as veiled hostility masked as journalism. Prominent celebrities posted messages of solidarity. Serena Williams tweeted, "Some people will never understand what it means to be strong and vulnerable. Keep rising, Meghan." Activist Tarana Burke called the moment a textbook example of how women, especially women of color, are challenged when they speak uncomfortable truths. But critics wasted no time piling on. British tabloids had a field day. The Daily Mail splashed headlines like, "Duchess Diva Meltdown on U.S. Morning Show," while commentators on conservative U.S. networks accused Meghan of once again playing the victim. "She wants the spotlight without the scrutiny," said one Fox News host. "You can't demand the microphone and then storm out when the questions get real." Michael Strahan released a calm, measured statement hours after the taping. "I've always approached interviews with respect and curiosity. My intention was never to provoke Meghan, but to ask the kind of questions our viewers expect. I wish her the best moving forward." ABC found itself in damage control mode. Internal memos emphasized the importance of maintaining trust with future high-profile guests. Meghan's team, however, was reportedly livid. Rumors swirled that upcoming appearances on other networks were being cancelled. Sources close to her suggested she was rethinking any future sit-down interviews entirely. By the following day, Meghan had subtly addressed the incident on her social media, posting a photo of her standing alone at the edge of a cliffside overlooking the ocean. The caption read, "Storms don't scare me anymore. I've learned how to build ships." The message was clear: she was steering her own narrative, regardless of how turbulent the seas became. Still, industry insiders speculated that the clash had damaged more than just reputations. It may have fractured a fragile media alliance. One veteran publicist told Variety, "If Meghan doesn't reset her PR strategy soon, she risks burning every bridge she has left in American media." One thing was certain: the interview that was supposed to mark a new chapter for Meghan Markle had instead turned into another headline-grabbing spectacle. And while the cameras had stopped rolling, the drama was far from over.